Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that a lot of people don't realize. Men may look complicated, they may act tough, they may pretend like they don't care. But when it comes down to falling for that one woman, the truth is simple. A man doesn't just fall because she's beautiful. He doesn't just fall because she looks good on his arm. He falls because she makes him feel something deeper, something real, something that no one else gives him. Respect is one of the most underestimated yet most powerful qualities that makes a man fall for one woman and stay with her. Many people confuse respect with blind agreement or constant submission, but true respect is neither of those things. Real respect is about recognizing someone's value, treating them with dignity, and showing through your words and actions that you see their worth. For a man, this is not just desirable, it is essential. It is almost like oxygen to his spirit. No matter how strong, successful, or confident he appears to be, if he doesn't feel respected in a relationship, he will eventually wither inside. But when he does feel respected, when he feels like the woman beside him sees him for who he is and appreciates him, that connection becomes unshakable. Men, at their core, want to be providers, protectors, and leaders in some form. Not because they want to dominate or control, but because they naturally want to feel useful and important in the lives of those they love. Respect is what assures a man that his role matters. When a woman respects herself first, carries herself with dignity, and demands to be treated with honor, she already has his admiration. A man falls even deeper when that same woman extends respect to him, not in a way that diminishes herself, but in a way that uplifts both of them. Respect does not mean you agree with everything he says or does. It doesn't mean silencing your opinions. In fact, men often admire women who can stand their ground with grace. What matters is how you disagree. Respect in disagreement means you can express your thoughts firmly, but without belittling, mocking, or tearing him down. The tone, the choice of words, and the ability to maintain dignity in moments of conflict all reveal respect. When a woman handles disagreements with wisdom and kindness, a man doesn't feel attacked, he feels heard. And that makes him want to listen even more. Respect also shows up in the small details, appreciating his efforts, even when they aren't perfect, acknowledging the hard work he puts in, showing gratitude for his presence, and trusting his judgment when it matters. Respect says, I see you. I notice what you're doing. I appreciate who you are. Imagine a man who works tirelessly to provide for his family. Maybe he isn't the richest man in the world. Maybe he doesn't have all the things he wishes he could give. But when he walks through the door and his woman looks at him with eyes that say, thank you for what you do. I'm proud of you. It transforms him. That respect recharges him more than sleep or food ever could. On the other hand, if every effort he makes is dismissed, criticized, or compared to someone else's, he begins to feel invisible. Over time, invisibility kills love. Respect, on the other hand, breathes life into it. Let's take a short example to illustrate this. There was a couple where the man worked long hours trying to build his small business. At first, money was tight. He often came home late, tired and stressed, feeling like he wasn't enough because he couldn't provide the lifestyle he wanted. Many women in that position might have constantly reminded him of what he wasn't giving or pressured him with comparisons. But this woman chose respect. Every night, no matter how late, she would make him a simple meal, sit with him, and say, I know it's tough right now, but I see how hard you're working, and I believe in where you're going. She never pretended everything was perfect, but she always gave him respect and appreciation. Years later, when his business succeeded and life became more comfortable, he would tell everyone that the reason he could keep going was because of her respect. I could have given up 100 times, but she never made me feel like I wasn't enough. That's the power of respect. It's not about submission. It's about partnership. It's about showing a man that even when he's flawed, when he's still working on himself, you still see the value in him. Respect is the glue that holds everything together. When a man feels respected, he feels loved, he feels safe to be vulnerable, safe to dream bigger, and safe to give more of himself to the relationship. That is what makes him fall, and that is what makes him stay. Peace is one of the greatest gifts a woman can bring into a man's life, and it is also one of the strongest reasons a man falls deeply for one woman over anyone else. Every man faces battles in the world: his job, responsibilities, his goals, his setbacks, and the silent weight he often carries on his shoulders. Out there, he has to be strong, competitive, guarded. Out there, he has to constantly prove himself, fight for his place, and deal with pressure that sometimes no one even sees. But when he comes home, the last thing he wants is another battlefield. What makes a man fall and stay is when the woman in his life gives him peace instead of drama, calm instead of chaos, comfort instead of conflict. Peace doesn't mean silence. It doesn't mean pretending problems don't exist. It means creating an environment where problems can be faced with calmness, respect, and understanding. A man doesn't run from a woman because she speaks her mind. He runs when every conversation turns into conflict, when every disagreement becomes a fight, when home feels more exhausting than the outside world. Peace, on the other hand, makes him look forward to coming back, makes him open up, makes him feel safe to be himself. That safety is what bonds him deeply. Peaceful woman is not one who hides her emotions or allows disrespect. Instead, she chooses her battles wisely. She knows when to speak, how to speak, and when to let go. She understands that not every mistake needs a storm, and not every flaw needs a fight. Her calm energy becomes a sanctuary for him. When a man feels that sense of sanctuary, he associates her with comfort, with relief, with the place where his tired heart can finally rest. That is powerful. That is unforgettable. Men do not fall for drama because drama drains. Constant suspicion, endless arguments, or always bringing up the past, these things chip away at connection. A man who feels constantly attacked or judged will eventually start to retreat emotionally. But when he feels peace with a woman, he opens up more. He shares his fears, his dreams, his failures, his heart. Peace creates a doorway into his inner world, a place where very few are allowed. Once he lets you in there, it's hard for him to ever let you go. Here's an example to make this real. A man I once heard about was working a high-stress job. He was dealing with deadlines, pressure from his boss, and financial worries. Every day, he walked into his home carrying that stress. Now, his wife could have met him at the door with complaints, nagging about bills, or criticizing the little he managed to do. But instead, she made their home his safe place. She would greet him with kindness, even if the day had been hard for her too. When he sat down, she gave him space to breathe. Later, when the time was right, she'd gently bring up what needed to be discussed. He once told a friend, "She's the only reason I can get up and do this again tomorrow. The world may drain me, but she fills me back up." That is peace. And that peace made him more devoted to her than anything else. Peace is not weakness, it is strength. It takes strength to hold your tongue when anger wants to speak. It takes strength to comfort instead of criticize, to build instead of break. A woman who brings peace does not lose her power. She multiplies it. Because when a man knows that the one place he can always find rest is in her, he will cherish her, protect her, and fight for her. The truth is, beauty can attract him, passion can excite him, and even compatibility can connect him. But peace is what anchors him. Peace is what makes him say, "I can't let her go," because in a world full of chaos, a woman who brings peace is rare. And when a man finds her, he knows he has found something priceless. Belief in a man's potential is one of the most powerful forces that can capture his heart and keep him devoted to one woman. Every man, no matter how confident he may appear on the outside, carries doubts on the inside. He questions whether he's enough, whether his dreams are too big, whether he can really become the man he envisions. The world doesn't always encourage him. People criticize, compare, and sometimes even laugh at his ambitions. But when he finds a woman who looks at him and sees not just who he is today, but who he can become tomorrow, that belief can transform his entire life. That woman becomes unforgettable because she gives him something even he doesn't always give himself. Faith. Believing in his potential doesn't mean blindly praising him or ignoring his flaws. It means recognizing his gifts, encouraging his growth, and reminding him of his value when he forgets. It means standing by him during the building process, not just showing up for the celebration when everything is already polished and perfect. Men fall in love with the woman who helps them believe again when doubt tries to take over. She becomes his reminder that greatness is within his reach, and her belief fuels his determination. A man may meet many people who only see him for his current circumstances. If he's struggling financially, some may only see him as broke. If he's at the bottom of his career ladder, they may only see him as ordinary. But the woman who believes in his potential looks beyond that. She doesn't fall in love with the paycheck. She falls in love with the purpose. She doesn't admire just the car he drives, but the drive within him. That perspective sets her apart from anyone else because it gives him hope and confidence he can't buy anywhere else. Belief in his potential doesn't mean doing the work for him or tolerating excuses. It means being a partner who inspires him to rise higher. For example, if he feels discouraged about a failed attempt at starting something, she doesn't just say, "It's fine, give up." Instead, she reminds him of his strengths, points out what he's capable of, and encourages him to try again. That belief can be the difference between him quitting and him pushing forward towards success. A man who has a woman like that by his side often works harder, dreams bigger, and loves deeper because he knows he has something priceless to fight for. To illustrate this, let's consider a simple but powerful example. There was a young man who dreamed of opening his own restaurant. He loved cooking, but he worked a low-paying job at a small cafe, barely making ends meet. People around him laughed at his dream, saying he would never succeed, that the risk was too high. Even he began to doubt himself after years of struggle. But the woman he loved saw something in him that no one else did. She believed in his passion, reminded him of his talent, and constantly told him, "You were born to do this." She helped him plan, encouraged him to save, stood beside him as he took small steps forward. Years later, when he finally opened his restaurant and it became successful, he would tell everyone, "She believed in me before I believed in myself. Without her faith, I would have quit a long time ago." That kind of belief doesn't just inspire success, it builds unbreakable love. This is why belief in his potential is so powerful. It's not just about what he achieves, it's about what he feels in her presence. When a man feels that his woman sees greatness in him, he feels motivated to live up to it. He doesn't want to disappoint her, not out of fear, but out of gratitude. Her faith becomes his fuel, her encouragement becomes his strength, and her presence becomes his reason to keep striving. Many men will tell you, the right woman doesn't just make them happy, she makes them better. And it's her belief in their potential that does it. At the end of the day, men don't just fall for beauty, charm, or attraction. They fall for the woman who looks at them and sees more than what the mirror reflects. They fall for the woman who says, "I believe in you," even when they doubt themselves. That belief touches a man's soul in a way that nothing else can. It doesn't just make him fall. It makes him stay, it makes him grow, and it makes him love with everything he has. Authenticity is one of the most magnetic qualities a woman can possess, and it is a key reason why a man truly falls for one woman over another. The truth is, trying to be someone you're not can only last so long. A mask will always slip, and pretense eventually gets tiring. But when a woman shows up as her true self, unapologetic about her quirks, honest about her flaws, confident in her own skin, she becomes unforgettable. Men may be drawn to perfection at first glance, but what holds them, what keeps them coming back, is the comfort and trust they feel in the presence of someone who is genuine. Authenticity isn't about being flawless. It's about being real. In a world where so many people are trying to fit into an image of what they think they should be, authenticity stands out like light in the dark. A man falls for a woman who doesn't constantly perform or pretend. Falls for the one who isn't afraid to laugh at herself, who admits when she's wrong, who doesn't pretend to like something just to impress him. Why? Because authenticity brings a sense of security. It tells him, this is who I am, and you don't have to guess. That honesty is rare, and it's what builds a foundation of trust. A woman who is authentic doesn't spend her energy pretending to be perfect. She doesn't play games with her emotions, sending mixed signals to appear more desirable. She communicates clearly, expresses her feelings honestly, and sets boundaries without fear. That clarity makes a man feel safe around her because he knows where he stands. Pretending might spark short-term interest, but authenticity creates long-term connection. Authenticity is also about self-acceptance. A woman who embraces her flaws instead of hiding them shows a man that she is confident enough not to need perfection to feel worthy. That confidence is magnetic. It makes her presence lighter, her laughter more genuine, and her love more trustworthy. Men fall for women who don't try to be a copy of someone else, but instead lean fully into their individuality. Uniqueness that captures his attention and makes him want to stay. When a woman is authentic, she also allows the man to be authentic. Her honesty gives him permission to lower his guard. So many men walk around wearing invisible armor, hiding their true feelings, afraid to look weak. But when they meet a woman who is unapologetically herself, it makes them feel safe enough to take off that armor. That is when real intimacy begins, because authenticity invites authenticity. Let me give you an example to bring this to life. There was a man who had dated several women who seemed perfect on the outside. They always looked flawless, always said the right things, always acted in a way that felt almost scripted. But over time, he realized that with them, he could never truly relax. Always felt like he was performing too, trying to live up to the image they wanted. Then he met a woman who was different. On their first date, she spilled coffee on herself, and instead of being embarrassed, she laughed so hard, she made him laugh too. She admitted she was nervous, joked about it, and carried on being herself. That simple moment of honesty was more attractive to him than any polished performance. As their relationship grew, she didn't pretend to agree with everything he said. She spoke her mind. She didn't hide her quirks. She celebrated them. Over time, he realized he had fallen deeply in love with her. Not because she was perfect, but because she was real. He said later, with her, I feel like I can finally be myself. That is the power of authenticity. It strips away the pressure, the games, and the fear of not being enough. It replaces them with comfort, trust, and connection. Men don't fall for the perfect act. They fall for the woman who shows up as herself. They fall for the honesty in her words, the sincerity in her actions, the courage it takes to be real in a world full of pretenses. At the end of the day, authenticity makes love sustainable, because love isn't built on performance, it's built on truth. When a woman is authentic, she doesn't just capture a man's attention, she captures his heart, because he knows that what he's seeing is real. And once a man experiences that kind of genuine connection, he won't want to let it go. Looks can capture a man's attention, but they are never enough to capture his soul. Beauty may turn heads, but it is character, substance, and the value a woman brings into his life that makes him fall deeply and truly for her. Physical attraction might spark the initial interest. It may even open the door to connection. but it cannot keep the fire alive. What makes a man stay, what makes him cherish one woman above all others, is the value she adds beyond her appearance. Looks fade, trends change, and perfection is impossible to maintain, but a good heart, wisdom, kindness, and compassion never lose their glow. A man may admire a woman's physical beauty, but he falls in love with the way she makes him feel, the way she inspires him to grow, and the way she enriches his life. Beauty can impress him, but it is the laughter they share, the depth of their conversations, the support she offers during his struggles that plant the roots of true love. When a woman has qualities that reach beyond the surface, she gives him something rare, something no mirror can reflect. She makes him feel seen, understood, and motivated to be a better man. Value beyond looks is about the energy a woman carries. It's about the wisdom she shares, the kindness she offers, the patience she shows, and the way she treats others. It's about her ability to bring light into dark situations, to stand strong when life gets heavy, and to remain true to her values no matter what. A man may be drawn to outward beauty, but what makes him stay is when he realizes she brings peace to his chaos, strength to his weakness, and joy to his ordinary days. That kind of woman is not just attractive, she's irreplaceable. Men also admire women who help them grow. A woman who adds value doesn't just make his life more comfortable, she makes his life more meaningful. She challenges him in the right ways, encourages him to chase his dreams, and reminds him of his purpose when he feels lost. Instead of just being a partner in fun, she becomes a partner in building. That kind of support cannot be measured by appearances. It runs deeper, and it's what makes a man protect that bond with everything he has. Let's use an example to illustrate this. There was a man who had dated several women that fit society's definition of beauty. They looked great on his arm, turned heads when they walked into a room, and for a while, that made him feel proud. But over time, he realized those relationships were empty. There was no depth, no growth, no sense of partnership. Then he met a woman who, while beautiful in her own way, wasn't just about her looks. She carried herself with kindness, treated people with respect, and had a way of listening that made him feel truly understood. She challenged him to work harder, supported his dreams, and even encouraged him when he wanted to quit. She laughed with him during the good times and comforted him during the bad. One day, he told a friend, "She makes me want to be a better man. With her, I don't just feel admired, I feel alive." That statement revealed everything. It wasn't her beauty that made him fall. It was the value she added to his life. That is the power of value beyond looks. Beauty might catch his eye, but it is substance that captures his heart. It is the late night talks that reveal her depth, the encouragement that strengthens his resolve, the kindness that makes him feel safe, and the authenticity that makes him feel free. A man can admire many women, but he will only fall deeply for the one who transforms his life with her presence, who brings more to the table than appearances, who gives him something his soul can hold onto long after the physical attraction fades. At the end of the day, men do not remember the exact shade of lipstick, the dress, or the hairstyle that first caught their attention. What they remember is how she made them feel, how she added to their journey, and how she inspired them to grow. Looks may open the door, but it is character, value, and love beyond the surface that keep the door open and make him never want to leave. That is what locks his heart, and that is what makes one woman unforgettable.